wrap your brain around this figure. We're going to hit 1 million students. At the start of this year, we thought we'd hit 1 million students in schools in 4 years. Now, we think we are going to hit 1 million students in 3 years. So that target's come forward by 12 months just in this calendar year. We're going to hit 1 million students in 3 years. The numbers are growing rapidly. Jo Fallshaw joins us from City Schools for City Kids. She's got children at Uni High. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Raf.
Look, the state government announced a few primary schools and one secondary school a way off in the inner city, including Fisherman's Bend. Do you think they're doing enough?
Look, we're really pleased that the school problem will be solved so long as they can get that online in 2 years, because North Melbourne Primary School and Port Melbourne Primary School are actually overflowing. But it's not enough. The decision really needs to be to make the Docklands School a prep to 12 school,
yes,
but instead they've made it primary only. And what they've done is to extend the zone for Uni High to include all the way down to the Docklands. And while we're really pleased that that's rectified an appalling injustice, which was that the Docklands kids had a discontinuous zone that leapfrogged over the Uni High zone to the north and forced them to go all the way up to Flemington to Mount Alexander College. So we're pleased that the Docklands kids are no longer being discriminated against. They're trying to jam all those kids into Uni High just won't work, and it's based on wrong data. Uni High already has 1,429 students with a total capacity of 1,400, so they're already over capacity. But the report upon which the government is relying to say that we don't have high school is saying in Appendix D of the School Provision Report for Docklands Stage 2, they're saying that by 2020, Uni High will have reached 1,051 enrolments and will still have 349 places available.
So just say those numbers again. They say they will reach what? And how much over?
So the government is relying on a report that says by 2020, Uni High will have 1,051 students and will still have 349 places available. But they're already at 1,429. They're already over their capacity of 1,400. And overnight, the government has just doubled the school catchment size for Uni High. So it's just not enough. I mean, you mentioned the staggering population growth we're faced with, but I'm afraid they're still just dabbling at the edges. They're not building for the future to accommodate our kids. And the other thing that's really concerning, and another real flaw in the data of the report, is that they're basing this on demand for government schools being only 63%, whereas, say, North Melbourne Primary School is 82%. The demand to go to government schools in that North Melbourne Primary School Uni High zone is 82%, not 63%. So they're designing to rely on private schools rather than designing to provide capacity to go to state schools if you want to.
Jo Fallshaw, I'll need to leave it there. We will ask the Education Minister and the Deputy Premier, James Merlino, about schools, about unions and firefighting after the news. The Education Department always wants to know, right, when are we going to hit the big mark? That 1 million students. Start of the year, they thought that would be in 2021. Now they think it's going to be in 2020. So that big bulge of students, when they hit that big mark, the 1 million, it's coming a little bit quicker than they thought it would. In the wake of those numbers coming, yesterday the state government announced planning for a primary school in Docklands, one in North Melbourne, and a little bit after that, primary and secondary schools in Fisherman's Bend, which has not been developed yet. James Merlino is the Deputy Premier. He has a range of responsibilities, including education. James Merlino, good morning.
Good morning, Raf.
Is it anywhere near enough, what you announced yesterday?
Oh, there's more we need to do, Raf, but yesterday's announcement was really significant. So we did a provision review for school enrolments in the inner city, and it found that in 15 years' time, by 2031, there'll be a shortfall of around 4,800 primary placements and a couple of thousand secondary school placements. So yesterday's announcement, on top of the 5 inner school inner city schools that we've already got on the way, including Richmond High and Paran High, will cater for 5,000 additional students. So there's more we need to do, not just in inner Melbourne, but in the growing suburbs, in our regional cities. The growth is just extraordinary. As you said, 1 million students by 2020. We know across government, Catholic and independent schools, we collectively need to accommodate an additional 90,000 kids over the next 5 years. So that's why we've got the biggest capital program the state's ever seen.
Let's focus on the decisions yesterday as a way of talking about it. We had someone just before the 9 o'clock news whose kids go to Uni High. One of the things you've done at Docklands, a primary school, not a secondary school, but they'll be able to go to Uni High. So you've doubled or at least massively increased Uni High's catchment. They are already at capacity. That looks like a Band-Aid on a much bigger problem.
Well, it takes a few years, Raf, from beginning to end in terms of any school, any new school. It's a couple of years to fund, design, plan, construct and open a school. So what we needed to do in response to the provision review, let's look at an immediate solution for parents of secondary school age children. The pressure on secondary school age, though, in the inner city is a few years down the track. So what we've done is increase...
Well, it's not a few years down the track. Uni High is already over capacity. So as soon as you increase its catchment, you're adding to the problem at that one inner city school, aren't you?
There's no doubt that there are pressures in inner city schools, and there's a range of ways that we can alleviate that pressure and providing greater capacity at those schools. We've done that recently with North Melbourne Primary School with some additional relocatable buildings. But what we've done is commit to not just provide an opportunity for parents now with the enrolment zone change at University High, but commit to a secondary school in Fisherman's Bend as well.
I don't think people are reassured, James Merlino, and I would say this is a bipartisan criticism. I'll just read you two of the texts that are coming in. It's a growth area issue as well, of course, as you know. Aiken College, 100 to 800 in a few years, says one texter. And another texter up here in the north, Reservoir, schools bursting at the seams. My son's school has 14 classrooms in portable, 11 classrooms in brick, and yet the Department of Education is still selling off the land. Now, I don't expect you to know the details for every school, but there are no end of examples showing that basically for the last 20 years, governments of both persuasions haven't planned ahead enough.
And that's exactly what we are trying to address. There is no doubt that there has been a significant lag, and I want to put it in some perspective for you and your listeners, Raf. Our two budgets, the two budgets under the Andrews government, $1.8 billion. There were 4 budgets under the previous government. 3 of them, the capital program was $200 million, almost nothing. So, as I said before, it takes a couple of years to fund, build and open a school. We've got no new schools, not one new school in Victoria opening this year because of a lack of investment under the previous government. Now, we are moving as hard and as fast as we can. $1.8 billion in 2 budgets compared to the standstill that we're at under the previous government. So I understand the pressures that families texting into your program are talking about. We've got 42 new schools underway right now, and we made the announcement of those 4 additional schools in the inner city yesterday. So we are moving as hard and as fast as we can to not only meet the demand, but fix up the schools that are in terrible condition and transform schools that have capacity but don't have parents choosing to send their kids there.
James Merlino is the Deputy Premier. He says they are doing much more than the previous government. What do you think? 1300 222 774 is the phone number.